So I don't know if you follow my Instagram, but this particular brand of prosecco is kind of becoming my brand.
Okay.
You know,
Hell yeah.
Snoop Dogg spiritually is like a big North Star for me.
Yeah.
Just like the style, just the very cavalier, style, like just dripping but not even trying.
Right.
That's my North Star. So I've in my studio sessions, I've been having like a revolving door of musicians come in for that,
Yeah.
and I always try to get a bottle of prosecco for that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Funny story about this prosecco too. Last studio session I had it. So Zach Baker, who else was there? Trevor Scary, if you know Trevor Scary, a bunch of people there, but Zach Baker, no, it was Dylan Bauman. Dylan Bauman and Trevor. Sorry, Dylan Bauman and Zach Baker were in the studio with me, and anyway. I'm like, I don't know. I like prosecco a lot. So it is the thing I drink and stuff. So whenever when I was getting ready to crack open the bottle, Zach Baker, he had some reservations. He was like, "Aren't we supposed to pop that outside?" And I was like, "Nah, dude. I'm doing this stuff all the time inside. Like,
Right.
no worries." And then he's like, "Are you sure? I mean, I'm pretty sure every like video I've seen of people doing this at weddings, it like explodes." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I've never had that happen. Like, you probably just shake it up or something." And then Dylan Bauman's like just completely yes manning me or whatever. And like, yeah, no, he's right. Like, no, you shouldn't just like explode. So of course I pop it, just explodes everywhere. All over Zach Baker, and particularly Zach Baker's backpack,
Oh my god.
where he has a library book, which he just got out from the library, and so the one person that had reservations, So anyway, still learning.
Yeah.
Here we go. Where we popping to?
Uh, we'll pop into Hillbilly Chic and the journey that you're starting here.
Start of a journey.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
do it. All right. You afraid of the pop?
No, you go for it.
All right.
Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This is, episode 2 live with someone in the studio with me, which I'm super stoked on. I'm sitting down with the new homie John, aka Hillbilly Chic. How's it going?
It's going good. Hello.
Hell
Yeah, excited to be here.
Dude, thanks so much for reaching out and wanting to be a part of these. Before I forget it, I want to give one big shout out to Liz Brooks for, mentioning me to you and you reaching out and wanting to do one of these. It always means a lot when anyone wants to sit down and just bullshit with me.
Yeah, dude. Well, and that's how it happens too. And, I think it's so important for artists to just support each other because this stuff doesn't happen otherwise.
Right. That is very true. I feel like we have a lot to talk about because for people that might not know, because I didn't know until I did my research either. So, you currently front a band called Gowns.
Yeah. Front is... I work with Gowns. I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like, you sing for Gowns.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Not like it's like your project. I mean, yeah, you sing for a band called Gowns.
Yeah.
Twin Cities. But you're starting this new journey as like your own like not just solo project but whole like aesthetic. I want to say.
Yeah.
Going by Hillbilly Chic.
Right.
I guess we'll just start right at the beginning. Like what's leading? Like what led to this journey and starting this project?
Yeah. This has been a long time coming. So I'm from West Virginia. I grew up in the coal fields in like southern West Virginia. West Virginia is like the 49th quality of living in the United States. It's there's a lot of poverty, a lot of challenges that West Virginians face, and people in Appalachia in general face. The mountains can be very secluding, and it's an interesting place,
Right.
full of. It's a sociological study upon itself. So that's where I'm from, and since I left, it has been a roller coaster, and coming into, a cosmopolitan, metropolitan place, where the mores are so incredibly different, where, it feels nothing like where I came from. At first it was so isolating, and then I adapted over. I'm gonna say 4 years. It took me like 4 years to get a sense of Minneapolis,
Right.
and to grow a love for it, to understand how to show up in a place like this, in a way that I'm understood for who I am, not understood as something different because people don't understand me. So it's been a lot of growth to come to where I am now, which it's actually been like 5 or closer to 6 years. But so even now, my West Virginia, my Appalachian story is very important to me. And in my earliest years, like coming to a metropolitan, like cosmopolitan city, whatever, I I kind of wanted to pretend like I was from LA. Like I didn't say that, but like I wanted to axe the accent. I wanted to just, I'm John. For one, I wanted it to be off the table. Like, well, who's the country bumpkin? Like, I didn't want
Yeah, you didn't want to be associated with your past. You wanted to have this whole new persona coming in that like people knew you for who you are now, not
right,
before.
right. Yeah, I mean, and I would like to think that I've read some books, and like I've like, I don't know. It's just again, it's just this piece about identity. It's this piece about feeling misunderstood. And it's not that I didn't want to be from Appalachia. It's just that there were so many presuppositions that people had about me being from Appalachia that I didn't want those. I'm proud to be from Appalachia.
Yeah.
So the thing with Hillbilly Chic, I guess if I were to like just talk about some kind of spiritual arc that led me to the place I am now, it's just this kind of discovery, this journey that led to this discovery that like just that I am proud to be West Virginia, Appalachian from West Virginia. I am proud of my roots and everything that I came from, and I have to like show people that the presuppositions are wrong. So yeah, I would say like that kind of really informed the ethos of Hillbilly Chic. Again, alluding to gowns earlier, the alternative. What would you call gowns if you heard?
So when I listen to Gowns, I was thinking more. I'd say like I listened to Gowns today to kind of get a feel for like the difference in the two projects, and I'd say Gowns is more like alternative rock, with a little bit of like a little bit of pop in there, just to like kind of spruce it up. But like Hillbilly Chic takes it on like it's a completely different level where it's more, I don't know, dream pop's not the right word I would say, but it's more.
I like that word.
It is a great word. But I'd say like yours is more like still kind of has like the rock feel, but it's definitely more of like a dance club style vibe, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Would you say that about both singles?
Yeah, I'd say that. Cool. Like they both like really make you want to like move because like obviously we see how you are as Hillbilly Chic. We see the Instagram posts and it's just like, okay, like what's this gonna be?
Yeah.
And I think it like lives up and like does even better than like what I was expecting.
Awesome.
And I don't mean that in like a bad way. Like I listen to new stuff all the time, and I like when people send me stuff, I'm like, okay, how's this gonna be? I've been around people doing music for like a long time. Like, are these just gonna be like shitty, like basement recordings or what? But like, no, like this shit is actually really, really fucking dope.
Thank you.
So I'm really stoked that you're gonna be putting these out. Before we kind of fully get to the single, like, okay, you're West Virginia, born and raised. You've been here for 6 years. What was that connection to come to Minneapolis of all places? Because I mean, there's obviously on like the East Coast, you got like DC, Baltimore. You got like also big cosmopolitan like areas.
Yeah.
But you came smack dab into like the middle of the country, into the Midwest.
Yeah.
To deal with our fun in snow.
Yeah.
Like what was that idea about?
Shot in the dark. I mean, and just straight to. Yeah. So I think so I was in music school, and I had, and I've always struggled to find mentors, and I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate mentors, but I've always struggled to find them, and I've never liked the institutions, never liked academia. I've never, and this is complete tangent, but I'm going I'm going to drip my philosophy throughout here,
Yeah,
but I
it's
don't.
your time to shine.
Awesome, man, awesome. I will get to the point, but Frank Zappa. I don't know if you know that Frank Zappa quote. Don't let schooling get in the way of your education. That's how I've always felt about school. Like I feel like I've always, I've never enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in music school, uh, I did have a mentor that I met with a couple times, and he taught me a lot in just a few meetings. But one of those meetings was at a Mexican restaurant in Buchanan, West Virginia, and so he treats me to this meal, and he's like, "It's my junior year, coming up on the summertime," and he's like, "What do you want to do after you graduate?" And I said, "Dude, I'm studying music. Like I am terrified. Uh, I can't think of a way forward.
Right.
And a music school in West Virginia, by the way, like, what's next? And also a music school that was focused on the fundamentals of academic music performance,
Mm.
this excellence paradigm rather than like an industry, leaning kind of like
Yeah,
entrepreneurial.
either you're going to do these programs, we're going to get you into the industry, you're going to be doing all this, where yours is more academic style, where it's more just like, we're going to teach you the basics
Yeah.
and fundamentals the entire time.
Right. And then you're going to end up teaching the fundamentals to
Yeah.
someone. So, I mean, in my head, I realized how hard the path was going to be. But I knew that since I was 13. It was never in the cards to be a musician, for my parents or for my community. Like, it was just like, this is just a pipe dream or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we had this meeting, and I was just real about my feelings about how lost I feel. And he said, John, it doesn't matter where you go or what you do, just that you go somewhere and you do something. And he said, pick a city. And I was like, cool. He's like, no, pick a city. And I was like, he said, pick a city. I'm like, Minneapolis? And he says, all right, pack your bags. You're going there this summer. And so I packed my bags and came over the summer. Now, that is the mythos.
Mm-hmm.
Am I using that? Is that the mythos? Is that a word, mythos?
I also hated school, so I'm not even going to fact check that one or
Okay.
anything like that.
I think it's mythos. But that's the mythos. That's the myth of me,
Yeah.
right? Like Kurt Cobain, he always talked about like living under a bridge for a while, and then you fact check, and it's like maybe a couple days, but that emotional experience is what matters. And
Right.
so like but anyway, for me, the emotional experience was like it was a dart throw. Truth is, also considering is that my sister Shauna lived in Jordan, Minnesota, which kind of whenever I was pushed in that moment, I was like, she lives in a satellite city of
Mm-hmm.
Minneapolis, so I was like, that probably influenced that decision. But anyway, I came up here and lived here over the summer. Um, got serving job. Started working with a songwriter I met on Craigslist. He lived in Hastings. We really vibed at the time, and I would drive every weekend. I'd get 2 days off from my serving job. I'd drive like an hour and a half or whatever to come to Hastings, and we would take the whole weekend. The first day we would write for like a lot of times like 7 hours. We would
Wow.
just he had this wall that had like this it's like the dry erase stuff
Yeah.
sprayed on it. So we were just like, I mean, it felt like I don't know, it felt like Einstein or some shit, just like drawing, like writing chord progressions and like lyrics and stuff. I mean, it was such a blast,
Yeah.
and we would just talk about, and I'd never met someone musically in that place before, just conceptually. He loved movies, we talked about philosophy. I'd never had that connection with someone. And I had that with this person. So that first day we would do that, and then the second day we'd started a band, and we would gig or rehearse with
Mm-hmm.
that band. And then so yeah, that summer did all that, came back to West Virginia to finish up college. Barely didn't. I like told my therapist at the college that like I'm done. I'm just leaving school, and then she was like, "Yeah, do it. This place, you're not vibing here,
Yeah.
so you should just go." And then, I don't know, some prudence kept me there, and then I'm glad I finished the degree. But then, like a week after I graduated, packed my car full of all my belongings, and then drove up here. Worked with that songwriter for a while, like a year maybe, close to it, and then that fell apart, and then didn't have a place to go. Had like a little bit of a stint of address insecurity and stuff, and then by fall I'd found an awesome house, and with someone who is in the music industry. Actually works with a very prominent like hip hop artist, tours with him and does sound and stuff with him. So I couldn't have found a better, and I found that on Craigslist too. So
the power of Craigslist.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And gowns came from Craigslist as well. So.
Yeah, I saw that in the description. Like even so, like I'm originally from Iowa. I'm not even from Minnesota either. So it's always fun to see how people's stories got them to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And like I was just my friends. That I went to high school with had a band, and I would just like hop in the van, like tour manage, like sell shirts and just drive the van. And then I met one of the dudes that lived in the house here at one point when we started show swapping.
Okay.
And I became friends with the other dudes in the band, and then like that's why I moved here and live in this house, which this used to be like they used to play shows right here. But even two of those members like met each other on Craigslist and shit like that. So it's always fun to hear those Craigslist stories too.
It's a mixed bag. It really is.
I'm sure it is.
It's influenced. It's influenced where I am, but I just remember all the auditions of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And you really realize that there are different kinds of people when you go on Craigslist.
No, it's awesome that you came out. You experienced at least a summer here. You found something that like worked and you connected with.
Yeah.
And you came back, and I mean, what do you say? You've been here like 6 years now?
Yeah, I gotta do the math.
An X amount of time you've been here, and it's you've been doing gowns. You're doing this new project. Like, props for pulling it through. Like, I know if I didn't have people here when I moved here, I would be fucking lost.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, I thankfully I'm at least like 5 hours away from home. If I were to like fucking freak out and just be like, I can't fucking do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
You moving halfway across the country, like, major props.
Yeah, I've always had this like just defiance in me that's like, it's bad. I just, I want to burn every bridge. And like. I'm like, I've learned to cool it, it's never been like this like aggressive, like kind of like vitriolic anger that, I don't know, that it's never been that, but it's like, I want to prove to myself that I can do things, and, and I don't want to, I want to lean into hard stuff. And so I don't know, it has been a challenge, and it took me to the places that I was completely scared to go, like maybe some address insecurity, maybe some like no social connections, and then coming to a place like this and having no social ties and things like that. Like that's an awful place to be in. Yeah. It sucks, but once I was there, I found a lot of strength, and I realized even that is like it's navigable.
Right. Now I do want to get to your songs, but I have like one other question. So like, absolutely. Obviously, when I moved to here, I already knew some people in like at least the music scene.
Yeah.
So when we would go out to shows, they'd be like, "Oh, here's so and so, here's so and so," and just kind of like mingle like that. You coming here, you had only known the songwriter and like the band you had started. Like, how was it for you getting into this Minneapolis scene? Because I know, like the twins, like Minneapolis and St. Paul, when you fully look at it, are not that big, but there's so much going on that it's hard to keep track.
Right.
And it can be difficult for some people to like get in
if
you don't know. Like I at least knew people that knew people that knew people, so I could like kind of get to know my way in. But like, how was it for you coming in and like getting established in the music scene?
Yeah, good question. Well, it was cringe. A lot of cringe. I know when I first started out, Didn't know the vibe yet.
Right.
You know, the anarcho-communist, the like queer punk, like all the different, you know, really strong presence, microcultures, you know, in the scene. I didn't know anything like that. I was showing up as John Bair from, you know, with the history that I've had. And people smelled that I was different, you know, just the way that I would present myself, just dress and stuff like that. You know, I mean, and you know, I was a little bit of a, I was coming from the rural area, you know,
Yeah.
and I'd say that like my obsession with aesthetic is pretty new, you know. So it happened in 2020. During I was just like collaging, you know, all the time. I was taking these In Vogue magazines and stuff, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like I love fashion. Like what? And anyway, but all this to say, people smelled that I was different because I didn't have the vibe yet, and so I would just like approach people all the time, and I would. I'm surprised I don't have any today, but I would make these like little, you know, I'd hand make basically a musical business card to give to people. For a while, for gowns, I was like taking a page out of a book and then repurposing it. I would tear pages out of like, I don't know, books from thrift stores, and then I would paint on them. And then I had this like stamp thing that like I did gowns. Like in proper lettering down the side, and then I had a QR code stamp of our Instagram or Spotify, and then I would like put that and then stamp that on the paint, and then I'd give those out to people.
That's pretty dope. I gotta say, if anyone were to hand me like a handmade business card like that, for sure you gotta follow easily.
Yeah, so I did that for a long time, and so that kind of stuff. That's kind of want to get to is that, you know, I was dressing kind of square and kind of outside of the scene, and then I would have all this like stuff that I'd give to people, and like I would, you know, super just like, hi, I'm John, like what's, you know, you look like an artist, you know, my name is John, I'm an artist, you know, whatever. Like I would just approach people, you know, cold calling essentially. And man, Minneapolis is not the scene to do it. And I did it for years. I did it for a lot. I did it for probably 2-3, I'd say I did it for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And eventually, as I figured out the vibe, you know, and stuff more, I realized, you know, that the trick is to do the opposite. The trick is to be the vibe, and be the person in the room that people are like, they got something going on. I want to go say hi. Right. You know,
make them come to you.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a. Shoot, I don't know where this is from. There's a quote that I want to allude to, but I don't know where it's from. I want this quote. Because I know the person that gave it to me, and I gotta figure it out because it's a great piece of wisdom. But basically, you show who you are. And then you don't have to say who you are. And so I stopped saying who I was, and I just was fooling myself. And I think that part of it too was, when I first came here, I wasn't being fooling myself, you know, before I like really understood my aesthetic vision and things like that. Like, I was, you know, using somebody else's aesthetic, the Kohl's mannequin's aesthetic, or, you know, right. Whoever's aesthetic. It wasn't mine. So I think when I started to really carve that out, you know, people realize like, oh, this person is, you know, once you have that aesthetic, you know, like people were like, okay, this is someone that's thought a lot about how they show up in the world, and it kind of expresses itself externally, you know. So anyway, that's more of a holistic view on maybe like what people see as a vapid like fashion thing, but yeah.
No, but I mean that's still good that you still at least did something to try and like make yourself known, doing those business cards and stuff in the scene, because like I know like even like back home, I left the music scene for a while. Like I used to book some shows, and I was like, all right, I can't fucking book shows anymore. People fucking suck to book for, and shit like that. And then like I kind of dipped out, and then when I came back and like started doing like the podcast again, I was like my way back in. Everyone in that scene had basically changed except for like a few people, because like I lived right outside of a college town, so like there's you know that turnover, and coming in like no one knows who the fuck I am. Yeah. And I would approach some people to be like, hey, like, do you want to come on the podcast? This is what I do. But a lot of it was also like I wouldn't approach some people, not because like I didn't want them, but more because like I'm like big on like fear of rejection type shit like that.
Yeah.
So I would just talk to like I would go to a show, dress how I normally do or whatever, and then which took me a long time to finally be comfortable with what I wear. But like I would just hang out with my friends and like we would be like in our own like pack, and then people would like kind of do the same thing where like, oh, like what's going on over there, or they know someone I'm talking to and they're like, oh, he knows, how does he know them? If he knows them, then like he should be like, I should probably talk to him because that means like that person's cool. I know for sure that means like he's probably cool if they're talking. And a lot of it's by association, which has been great.
Absolutely. Well, and that's a great point, because I think that was another part of it. Whenever I would go to shows by myself, people were scared of a, white dude, and like, I don't know. I mean, I'm scared of white guys. Single white, like these lone wolves. Total tangent, but Taxi Driver, like, I am God's lonely man. Like, yeah, people are afraid of white dudes by themselves. So, and I get it. So, it is hard when you're just someone by themselves, like, people are wary of you. And I think if you have a great fashion sense, it kind of speaks to like a bigger tribe of the world. Like, people see like, oh, they've got elements of this and elements of this. They exist within some kind of community. I can see that they're more approachable. Whereas, if like, I don't know, maybe, and I'm just talking about how I was shown up in the scene at the time, I didn't have people around me, so I didn't have a tribe.
Right.
People were scared of me from that. And I didn't have this kind of like branding of like other like bigger, larger communities than myself that like, maybe like fashion that like, people could like be like, okay, I see where he's coming from. I get a read on him already, and he's a part of something bigger. I'm gonna go talk to him. I had none of that. So, but that's a big, again, like, that's a big thing. People being just kind of like afraid of like people by themselves.
Yeah. No, but thank you for, diving into your backstory, because like that's always interesting, and obviously like this is our first time hanging out or meeting each other all in one, so it's always interesting, see how people's lives like started out and got to where they are now.
Yeah.
Speaking of where we're getting to now, you have, at the time that we're recording this, we're 3 weeks away, but at the time that this episode comes out, we're going to be a week after your first Hillbilly Chic single.
Yeah.
As I go to my notes so I don't butcher it, called the Sun Shine In.
But yeah.
Yeah. You got me.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's the first single of Hillbilly Chic.
Yeah.
If people remember, I'm speaking in past tense because of this when this comes out. If people remember, you've been dropping these reels on Instagram leading up to this, just for the getting the cover art together. I watched the second one today.
Thanks for acknowledging that. Not very popular, but
like the first one, it's you like picking out your wardrobe, which we see your massive closet of just your entire wardrobe, which look, as like it was presented, I was like, this fits for what I've seen you post and everything. I was like, that I expected that closet. The second episode, we're talking about like, the lighting for this specific single shot. But I mean, Sunshine In is, like I said, it's a great song for you to be coming out with. It's quick. Well, it's catchy. It's vibey. I had it, like, it was fun to listen to. Like, I definitely wanted to keep listening to it because I kept bouncing between that and another song that we might talk about here in a little bit. But like, I wasn't like, okay, like one and done. Like, I got it.
Right.
It was a solid track, and I dig it.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Why this one as your introduction to Hillbilly Chic?
Great question. It almost wasn't. Because it was a song. And we'll go with that answer. I had a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of just reservations about this being my first single. Primarily because I am a little bit of a tragic person. I'm not trying to claim it. I would like to be different, but trends in my mental health, etc. Like, I can be a little tragic, and my view of the world it's complex. It's not. I wouldn't say it's optimistic, and so I think Sunshine In for me, I thought it had this optimism that I was afraid of, I was afraid to be associated with. And but it would be lying to say that I don't feel that way sometimes. Yeah. It would be lying to just hide that. And I mean, if it is optimistic, I mean, I think there's darkness in it. I think there's grit in it, you know. But if there is optimism in it as well, I'd be lying to say that I don't experience that sometimes, you know. And I think that is part of the reason for releasing Sunshine In was just I'm going to trust that this track is going to turn out in a way that can be me. And you know, I had a lot of songs to choose from the past couple years of me just writing, and you know, and there were a lot darker ones, but you know, I was like, this one feels current, feels like my current emotions, and and you know, yeah. So anyway, it almost didn't happen, and I forced myself to text my producer and say, this is the track we're going to do, and let's make it happen. And then first day in the studio, it was great, and Zach Baker and Dylan Bowman were there for that, and it was great. But leaving the studio, I felt like nothing was going to happen. A little bit, I was like, you know, I felt kind of like I had paid a lot of money just now for 3 hours of studio time, and it wasn't going to lead to anything. And then by that night, my producer had texted me, and I'll just call him by his name. His name's Jack at Tangerine Recordings. Jack had texted me, and he said, man, this chorus has been stuck in my head all day. If you knew Jack, you'd realize what an actual compliment that is, because he doesn't say anything ever. And I've worked with him for 4-5 years with Gowns, and like, I knew what a compliment that was for him to like say this has been stuck in my head all day. By that night, he'd had the full track just produced.
Wow.
So we'd recorded guitars and voice that morning, and then by that night, the whole track was produced. And that said something to me. Yeah. And so at that point, I was like, okay, this is something. I'm glad I trusted my instincts, and I just pushed forward with the song that I had a lot of reservations about.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
If you would have like decided not to make this one your initial single, were you just gonna scrap it entirely?
You know, I think I probably was thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those creators too. You have different kinds of creators. For me, I'm definitely like just like, it's done, burn it, move on, you know. So yeah, it's hard to commit to those ideas and concepts that because I mean, I think I am an ideator. I'd say that is my strength and my greatest weakness, which is that I'm full of ideas, and then once I've had them for a while, I want new ideas, you know. So,
well, props to sticking with it. Like I mean, there's a lot of ideas I have with this podcast where I'm like, fuck, I should just not do this.
Yeah.
And look at me now. We're recording towards the end of March, and I've put out a video episode every week since the beginning of March. Look at me.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, like even doing that, it took me 3 years to decide to do this, and I just was like, I can't fucking do this. I'm also like I feel old saying this, like I never had like any technical like that reason I use GarageBand still is because that was the easy shit to learn when I started doing this 4 years ago, and I'm too lazy or it's too complicated to learn anything else. So doing this, I keep it simple because like fuck school, fuck reading. I just want to know how to do it already, and these were the simplest ways.
I wish I was doing what you're doing, because I'm having to learn Premiere right now for all my video stuff. And okay, this is a whole conversation, but I have an app on my phone called Video Leap, and that's where I edit most of my video stuff. It's simple, it's intuitive, it's powerful, and looks great. Yeah. I'm having to learn Premiere right now because I'm getting ready to. I want to up level, you know, and I feel like in order to up level, I need to start learning Premiere, Adobe Premiere. Anyway, I spent all today, like probably 6-7 hours, on that thing that you alluded to on Instagram. Yeah. The
episode 2 of your single picture saga.
Yeah, single picture saga episode 2. Spent 6 or 7 hours editing that, and it wasn't even. There's nothing complex about it. I could have done that in Video Leap in 20 minutes. Adobe Premiere, I mean, I swear they're trying to be dense on purpose, man. Like, I'm like, what? Just export the damn file.
Yeah,
Where's the export button?
I feel that because for the last in-person one I did, so everything I always use, I just use iMovie for all the video ones because it's fucking, I record off Zoom, put it in, fucking do my little cuts or whatever, and then it's done. But I had 2 cameras running for that last live one, so because we had people there, over here, and just shit was not lining up properly. So I also have on my computer DaVinci something. And there's like I had to watch a YouTube video on how to do shit because there's so many buttons on that fucking program.
Yeah.
Which there shouldn't be that many buttons on the program. It should be like, hey, put these together and then do this. So I had to watch a video on how to click basically just 6 different buttons just to get my shit done. And I was like, this is why I don't like do more than I should do.
Yeah. Well, it's frustrating because it's like, okay, I know that everybody has like there's like 3 things that everybody needs to do. Like everybody.
Yeah.
Like that stuff should be front and center. And you know, but I don't know. I'm probably going to love it once I get it down, but
yeah.
I mean, it is frustrating. I mean, and I had a little bit of a crisis today because I spent 6 or 7 hours editing that video, and then, you know, those videos have been somewhat unpopular. Like, they get, like, the last one over time got, like, 15 likes or so, which is fine, you know, for where I am. But, like, this one, you know, I just checked it a little bit ago, and, like 3 likes or something like that. Again, not trying to think about likes a lot.
Right.
But I am trying to, like, sometimes you want to know that, like, that your efforts aren't in vain. I like, literally the only thing that keeps me going is, like, I know in a year from now I'm going to be a badass at this stuff, and my vibe is going to be even more, like, you know, calibrated, and then I just have I have to have faith that something is going to happen. You know, but I have to show up every day in order to see that happen. That is the only thing that keeps me going because the you know, the algorithm, the Instagram, like, ugh, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that because obviously I have like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that shit, and then like I also have when the episodes release, I can track like the numbers on those, and I check them like the day that it comes out, and I try not to look at it at a day after that.
And what's the alternative? Not do anything,
right?
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, like I could. Okay, I did shitty numbers this week. Does that mean I just like stop doing it, and then it's just like, well, then I'm just not doing anything. Like this at least gives me something to do, like chat with people and shit like that.
Yeah, dude, I want to affirm you right now. Like, this is fun. This is a hell of a concept, and you are an awesome hang. Like, I'm excited to be here, and I'm really excited to see where this goes because I know it's going somewhere. And it's just time.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I really do. You know, we're gonna cheers to that.
Cheers.
Hell yeah. But you know, so we were talking about obviously your first single, but you've also been hinting. I feel like lately about this this party.
Yeah.
What's this party all about?
I've been hinting online about that.
Well, I feel like you posted about it. Your little,
I did?
Yeah.
Man, no, it's all good. I like, come to my party. You won't know about it in time, unfortunately. So the party was great, y'all. But no, I am playing a party. Where did I hint it? Do you know where I hinted it?
Like, are you seriously asking?
No, I'm serious.
Okay. Yeah. So it was like up here. You had it as like your little notes thing one day.
On the notes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember that because that's such a new feature for me, and like it was, and it's so like I love it. You know, it's like for the real fans. You know, hop into the DMs. I love it. But yeah. So I've been hinting at that. So I'm having a pre-release party, April 8th at 7 p.m.
And it was sold out.
Sold out. My house was sold out. The fire marshal came. Yeah, so it's, I don't know exactly what's going to be yet. And the thing about my brain is I just have to say something's happening and I figure it out.
Right.
I'm not a planner. I am a procrastinator, and I have big ambitions. And the thing is, like, I work well under pressure, and I hate to do that to myself because it sucks. But it's the only way I get shit done.
Yeah.
So I made this event, and I put it on the calendar. And at first, it was going to be at a venue, but we couldn't really swing anything in time. So I was talking to Liz about it. I met her at MIA. We have every other week we meet at MIA to just like let's come up with ideas for Hillbilly Chic and like stuff like that. But we met at MIA. I bought her some prosecco, bought myself some, and then we're just chatting and we're like, I mean, I'm thinking like, what's the like lowest hanging fruit? We'll just throw a house show.
Right.
I'm not used to doing that, but like we'd come up with this idea of like putting lawn chairs out on the front of the house in the yard, and there's a deck or a patio, and it's not like super well, it's not ornate. it very much fits the Hillbilly Chic aesthetic.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were just like, what if like we just throw this like just the single, just like people out in the lawn, you're singing the single, get some video of that, and then use that to promote the single and stuff like that. And it's just a moment. It's just 3.5 minutes, and then we go back inside for just like chilling.
Have a nice, fun little house party gathering.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that I love that idea. I mean, because that is better than the Clown Lounge. That is for my brand. Like, it is better than any of the venues in town because it is, if it works, then it's going to be people on a lawn in lawn chairs, and then me in this like king-like fashion on the patio, just tacky as hell.
Right.
That is the vibe,
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I know back when I was like obviously living in Iowa City, some like local guys had basically like they were dropping I think either an EP or just a single, and they were like, everyone come over to our house, we'll have like a little party, we'll play like they acoustically play like one or two of the songs, and then just we just had a good time. They had like a keg, and then like it was obviously during the summer, so it was a lot, not Minnesota fucking
Right.
April, but like had a keg. We just like I think they might have grilled out, and then it was just people playing frisbee in the backyard. It was like a nice like just like chill vibe, and I feel like that works great. Lawn chairs. Hopefully most of the snow is gone by then. To make it a little easier.
Fingers crossed.
But no, that's like a great way to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I got the idea from Zach Baker because Zach Baker did Solar Baby, his new EP with Natalie Fiddler and Tommy. What's his last name? So Tommy goes by Toilet Rats on Instagram. I'm not sure his last name, but they did Solar Baby release party, and it was so fun. Mm-hmm. And it was at I think it's called Cosmic Coffee up in Northeast. That's what it's called. But yeah, it was so fun. It was like, do it. Yeah, like you want to celebrate. Like It doesn't have to be a release show. You can, you can just have a party.
Yeah. And it's weird too. Well, I guess like let me rephrase this. I don't think it's weird. I think it's just weird to me in a sense because I've never really seen it done as much lately.
Yeah.
Or before, but I see it more lately. Where like throwing like shows for just a single release.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm just like old and like stuck in my ways, but like that just seems like a whole new like crazy concept where
yeah.
I never. Growing up, everyone was just like, "Oh no, it's like our EP release show."
Right.
We drop a single. Who the fuck cares? Like we're building up to this so people come out to it. So like, to me, it's like I'm getting used to like I know that there's people that I was talking to in like Wisconsin. They're like, "Oh yeah, we had like we're doing like a single release show." It's like, well, it makes it sound like that's all you have.
Yeah.
You're playing a whole show around it, but like, you playing like the one song instead of, I don't know. I'm making it sound worse. I feel like I'm saying it worse as it's
I know what you're talking about.
But like, it's a whole new concept that I just. It was new to me.
It's new to me too.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in the old school too, because the pandemic. Okay, so I'll just give you a little backstory to just prove my cred here. Gowns was like getting our first album going, Revelations. We'd already released an EP, but we were getting our first album going, and we had recorded a single called Castles, and we'd been working with Tinderbox Music at the time to help with. We hired a publicist at Tinderbox. Excuse me, and so we were working through like the best way to promote Castles, which was the single that we were really confident about. So Tinderbox is like, you have to do a music video. You have to do a music video, and you have to give a 6-week window to release your song. And so we're like, we pay a lot of money for a music video to be made. It turns out awesome. We're stoked about it. Just like, I swear, overnight, the industry freaking changes. By the time this music video is actually done, the industry has completely changed. And we release it. City Pages, like, I think, mentions it in an issue or something. I don't know. But basically, though, it was like, we'd been doing all this work, and like the industry kind of changed. It really felt like overnight. It was the rise of TikTok and all that stuff. By the time this music video was made, it was old hat. There wasn't a place for it anymore. At the beginning of it, though, you saw the place for it. Because I remember looking at the City Pages, and like there'd be write-ups about like a music video someone did, and it was like, that was the way. And then, I finally, Gowns gets to do this, and it's amazing, and we're proud of it, and then it's just not where the industry is anymore. So that's where I came from, too. And, someone the other day, told me, like, I was like, I'm working on a single, I'm promoting a single and stuff like that. And this person says, you should do an album. I like albums. And I was like, where the hell were you for the 2 albums that Gowns for the 2 albums that Gowns released, because, Gowns did albums.
Yeah.
And to be clear, Hillbilly Chic probably will do albums, but that's not the focus.
Yeah.
I'm at the point in my life where I'm tired of proving anything to anybody. I want some security. I want some financial return for the huge financial investment that I've put into my music career. I want, the stuff that a lot of people want. But, I'm not trying to prove anything, and I'm not trying to pretend the music industry isn't what it is.
Right. No, yeah, that's something I've talked about like a few different times on the podcast where, there was a format. You release 1 to 3 singles.
Yeah.
Drop your EP or album. Drop some music videos after that to follow it up. And then, 6 months later, 6 to 8 months later, like, here's another single leading up to this thing that'll be coming, or it's just a one-off single just to keep people entertained.
Yeah.
But yeah, like now it's literally most bands are doing, here's a single, 3 months later, here's a single.
Yeah.
3 months later, here's a single. None of them lead up to an album.
Yeah.
And I'm also one of those people that like I still like listening to full albums, because if you're dropping stuff, I'm expecting like something that's gonna like be a cumulative thing of just all of those or that same sound. Where some people have been dropping singles that don't even match each other,
right,
and lead to nothing. And I'm just like, oh, bro, like. All this could have been something, or like this could have been dope, or like doing this, and it's just crazy. Like especially like with TikTok, you can like release part of a song, on TikTok, just do a verse, and it blows the fuck up, and then you have to make a song, to accompany it, and just see where the fuck it goes.
It's the dirty thing, man.
Yeah, exactly. They had just that one verse, and then blew the fuck up.
Yeah. Little fun thing, Gowns is actually on a Dirty track, unless they deleted us from it, but we work with the same producer, and they're going to release a song. I don't know where they are with it, so I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a song where there's like basically it sounds like a big audience of people, and that's like Gowns, just like 5 of us in a room, just like just like talking random shit, and then but Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
shit's fucking crazy now. Like, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, a lot of this stemmed from the pandemic, not people not being able to play. But it'll be interesting to see what like the industry's like in even 5 years. If if this is still the continuing model, or if it's going to change before that.
It's. Do you want my theory?
I would love to hear it.
Well, okay. First of all, AI scares the hell out of me. I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but my theory is Instagram feels saturated. You have to pump money into it to get any reach. You know, the organic reach. It is still present, but it's not what it used to be.
Right.
And Facebook, same thing. TikTok, I think it's becoming that way. And if it isn't, then it will. It's going to be completely commodified, and the only way to get any reach will be financial. That is, if TikTok is not shut down by the U.S. government.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
So I think there will be an upset.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but I know, but it's the nature of these things. When they become stale, they get up leveled, and I don't know what that's going to look like, but I swear it's got to be coming, because these platforms, they're just feeling like clunky, and that's my sense.
Well, I guess we'll just sit around and find out when the time comes. See if there's a new, even more powerful app like TikTok that just steals the spotlight, or one of these other apps that's already existing just kind of revamps a little bit.
That's true too. That is another way.
Yeah, that could be a whole episode on its own.
Yeah.
But to kind of go back to Hillbilly Chic, you have this party on the 8th. Single comes out on the 21st, you said. You also sent me another track that is in the works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not
so
fully done.
It's rare that I send anything out while the songwriting is still being tended to.
Okay.
So Paper Dagger is probably the next single for Hillbilly Chic, and I don't know what the chorus is supposed to be yet. I think it's probably close, but I never send anything out. This is something that I think I got from Stephen King, his book on writing. He says, write with the door closed, edit with the door open. And I love that. You want your friends to tell you why it sucks.
Right.
But you don't want them in while it's still being made. So, Paper Dagger, it's still in a vulnerable place, but I don't know. It's an enigma so far, just all around. That track, as a songwriter, I don't, feel free to, put me back on track or whatever, but I'm just going to go on this tangent if it's cool.
Go for it.
But yeah, Paper Dagger has been an enigma from its inception, because, excuse me, as a songwriter, I'm very precious about melody and lyric and line and flow, and it's this through line of energy between lyric and poetic rhythm and melody. I'm very precious about that through line all the way through a track, and that's where everything stems from. That is the seed that creates the song in most of my stuff. Paper Dagger it started out as a vibe, and it has gone through many iterations and rewrites, and as it stands, I don't know the through line, but every time I listen to it, I cry my eyes out, and I can't throw that away.
Right.
So, if you could ask Jack about our studio sessions. I'm a mess when Hillbilly Chic, first single, Sunshine In, just confidently, I know what the song's supposed to be. I walk in there and lay down the tracks, and then I feel great every studio session. With Paper Dagger, I've got, back to the imposter syndrome. I feel I don't even know what's going on. I feel so out of control. It's a vulnerable place for me to write from that place of just this is a vibe, and it's and so anyway, yeah, it's kind of an enigma. But in that fashion, I would like to tie it around to what your question, but I don't even remember what it was at this point.
Well, I mean, I don't think there really was a question. It was just more we're leading up to this. That's going to be the next single.
Yeah.
Like, one, I want to thank you. Obviously, you're just saying you don't send this out normally to people. I want to thank you for, trusting me to send it to me so I can check it out prior to us sitting down. Like I mentioned earlier, I think when we started the episode, I feel like it's a solid second track or follow-up track to Sunshine In. Just kind of opens up the world a little bit more to Hillbilly Chic as to what we can expect.
Yeah.
And get like kind of another feel, because obviously Sunshine In has like that little bit. They aren't exactly the same style of track. They do have their different feels, but it's a nice vision into the door, or window, I should say, as to what Hillbilly Chic is. Yeah.
I think it's a spiritual successor that shows the kind of opposite. It's for me. It's a very very different feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's the other side of the coin for Hillbilly Chic. To me, it feels dark and a little brooding. I kind of want to know your words. What would you describe it as?
Ooh, you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, it doesn't have...
I mean, like, on the spot by... obviously, I listened to it probably like a handful of times, but listening to something new is always a difficult thing, just because, you're listening to, like, the instrumentals and everything, getting a feel for it. So, that one might have to rain check on that answer.
Cool.
To fully, like, listen to it another time, let the lyrics fully set in.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of what you're mentioning, where like it has that darker feel, where it's in the lyrical content is I think where you're getting at, because the rest of it I feel like isn't that far off from the first single, if that makes sense.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, Paper Dagger, Mama had her in the ICU, Papa waiting at the days and in the waiting room. So, I mean, the very first line is just, it's kind of dark.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, I just want to cry saying that lyric. It's incredibly personal to me. But, this whole track, to me, it's birth and it's death. It's the entirety of the life cycle is what Paper Dagger is to me. And the concept is really and I don't, I think I gave too much away. I won't.
I mean,
I'm gonna go.
You can give as much or as little as you want.
Well, I always struggle as an artist, because some people, they don't want to give anything away, and there's their mystique, and like each person can put their own lens on it, and I love that. At the same time, telling your story is important.
Right. Yeah, because like I was sitting down with someone the other day, and they were telling me about like a lot of the backstory behind their album, and like a lot of the songs, dealing with like bipolar, and then a lot of it was like situations where you're telling your male friends like, hey, like that wasn't cool, like that kind of crossed the line, being like real with them. And they were like pretty hesitant about like telling that side or like explaining anything, and I was like, I told him on the episode, I was like, hey, you telling that like adds another element to these tracks, and someone listening or that finds this episode and listens to this part are going to connect with those tracks even more, because they relate to that, or they see that in you, or that it opens up a whole nother door as to like what you are doing these. So like I totally understand where you're, because like I'm that person too, where like I listen to like behind the scenes shit and just like, oh, that adds so much more, where like I can relate to that, and like that makes this song even fucking cooler. Right. But I also understand like the whole mystique of like, let someone interpret what they want for this. Yeah. Because it's a tough one, because like I'm on both sides of the fence with that. Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's just this battle of these two wolves inside me, But Paper Dagger, I think I might leave it at that it's supposed to encompass the entirety of a human life cycle. And it's a very personal story to me, and it's somewhat autobiographical, but it's also generational. And I think there's a through line of something through generations that it speaks to. but I'm not going to say what that is.
That's fair. I feel like that's a great way to leave it on that cliffhanger. Do you have any idea when Paper Dagger is going to be coming out?
I would say I'd say expect it in June.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, everyone listening, make sure you stay. We'll get to links in a little bit. This Prosecco's hitting a little bit.
It is.
We'll get to links in a little bit. But keep your eyes peeled for that Paper Dagger. So kind of just to reiterate, Sunshine Inn, April 21st.
Yeah.
Paper Dagger sometime in June.
Yeah.
What's on that horizon for Hillbilly Chic?
Oh man, I gotta start playing shows. I have been freaking out. I mean, just not in like a apparent way, but in an internal way. Oh man, gown shows. People would talk about, like any press that would come to gown shows. It was often like John's stage presence is like awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like. I felt very affirmed by that, and I felt that to be true as well.
Now, when you're performing, when Gowns is performing, you're just singing, not like playing guitar and singing, right?
I play actually keys and saxophone and sing for gown shows.
Okay, so props for having that stage presence while doing that. For Hillbilly Chic,
I got a microphone in my hand. That's the goal.
Okay, so you're gonna basically pack the stage with close friends to fill out your live performances?
That's the goal.
Okay.
So I might have to. I've never wanted to be an acoustic guitar playing songwriter on stage with a microphone. Like I've never wanted to be a singer songwriter type like performer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no shade to that.
Yeah.
It's just not. I've always wanted a band.
Yeah, it works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody. I know close homie, and he used to live in this house. Tane from the band Tightwire.
Okay. That's
here in Minneapolis. They're a pretty good punk band if you check them out. They'll be on a future episode here coming up. So like everyone's kind of spread out with his band. So he moved back to like South Dakota, and they had a tour come up, and they were like, he was like, my whole band can't fucking just like take off with like this little bit of time. So he did it acoustic.
Yeah.
And he was like trying to figure out like going from a four-piece band, punk band, to do songs acoustic.
Right.
He was like, this, like he made it work, but he was like, this fucking is not it. And it like that's basically what I'm getting at is like, yes, it's not for everybody to do just acoustic shit.
Yeah.
It works in certain times of need.
Yeah.
But not all the time.
True. And the songwriter that I try to start an acoustic guitar and have the entirety of a song be like you can hear it with acoustic guitar and voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's important for me to be able to pare things down. And the real test is going to piano, block chords, just like just the chord changes or like whole notes on the piano, no rhythm, just like the harmony and the melody, vocals, and then does that hold up? Because that's a good song. That's my like personal test. And anyway, but that's my test for a good song for myself. That's that's how I write. But again, there's an energy of a band, and
there really is, especially with these songs too, like especially like, so I've listened to Sunshine Inn and Paper Dagger. That's right. We already mentioned I had that sneak peek, but like listening to them as a full band sound, I can't picture them being acoustic,
right?
And like you definitely want, especially with everything that's going on, you want that full band.
Well, and that is the enigma, especially Paper Dagger, and that was how much of an enigma it was, because I had produced it. It was a song that I wrote basically in Logic, that was so haunting that I like most of the stuff I write in Logic I just throw away, but this one just caught me, and I was like, I didn't know that I had to I didn't know I had to commit to anything, and I did, because it has a feeling that I can't recreate. So I've written it and rewritten it and rewritten it over and over. Tried to pare it down to just the guitar and voice. And I think that the song's close to being like, a full-fledged song just at that really pared down state. But really, you do lose a lot without the complete arrangement.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it like that.
Obviously, you're mentioning that you're going to try and hopefully do some shows. But, like, what about, like we talked about? Hillbilly Chic will probably be an album at some point.
Yeah. What's
next down the line, music-wise, after even... Paper Dagger.
Yeah. That suspense. It was like the drum roll in National Lampoon's Christmas. So I'm working on a couple things.
Yeah.
And there's this ballad that came to me. I posted a video on Instagram of me singing to the piano like a week and a half ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
May or may not have seen it. It doesn't matter if so, but it's kind of a ballad, and I've always dreamed of doing an early aughts, like Chasing Cars, just alt rock ballad with strings, just heart wrenchingly haunting and beautiful. Some kind of descending bass, emotive chord change, voice leading in the bass line. Like, I've always wanted to do one of those songs. So maybe that. But I'm also working on something that's an incredibly personal story about my upbringing. And the lyrics for the chorus will probably be something like, I was just a kid. So it kind of gives the flavor of, like, this is a very, very personal song. And that one's more what you're used to with the other two tracks. So I'm going to let Paper Dagger and Sunshine In really sink in, and I'm going to be just working my ass off to promote those for the next, 4 months or so. And it's the nature of the industry right now. So that's like where my head's going to be at, and I'm just going to let the other things sit, I think.
Yeah, you're going to do like a handful of TikToks too to just boost them up, or...
Yeah.
As someone that also I have a TikTok, but I'm like, oh, I start doing video. I should start splicing shit to put it on TikTok. And
right.
I'm like, that's a whole nother can of worms that who knows, it could pop off, it could not. Also, right. I don't know how the fuck to do that. I know how to put these videos out. I don't know how to snippets of just the videos. Yeah,
the micro content thing is, it's a skill set, and I haven't figured it out yet. And I was listening to a podcast, DIY Musicians podcast. It's the thing that CD Baby puts out. But it's a pretty good podcast. Not pumping up CD Baby. I've only heard bad things anecdotally. But yeah, in the podcast they were talking about TikTok, if you're a musician, 25 plus, just might not be your thing.
Yeah.
It just might not be your audience. And that's okay. You don't have to do TikTok. Mm-hmm. Pick the platforms, the 2 platforms or 3 platforms that you can excel at, and do those. And I've been thinking through that because I also read advice by a similar kind of podcast months before, which was essentially you gotta be on TikTok. I think it was Damian Keys. You gotta be on TikTok, And so anyway, I've been posting on TikTok multiple times a week, and it's been really sad. And also I don't know if you've had anybody do this, but last week some guy, that ballad thing I was talking about with the piano.
Yeah.
Some guy just comments and I get no engagement on TikTok. The one engagement I get is some guy that doesn't even have a profile picture says terrible singing, which I thought it was funny,
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was literally thinking about shit today, where I was I don't know if I was thinking about the YouTube portion of this or just the Instagram post, but I was like, thankfully no one has ever commented on anything yet saying like this dude's a piece of shit or anything along those lines, because I would probably just hit the red button, just like delete everything and be like, see ya. But like, it's one of those things where like, yeah, you post shit on the internet, anyone can say fucking anything, but also at the same time it's like, does their opinion really matter that much?
Yeah.
Like, you're still putting out what you want to put out. You're doing the grind. Like you said, they have no profile picture. They couldn't even take the time to put a profile picture on, and you're there. You have a profile picture. You have a page. You're putting out content. You're spending the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not pop off on TikTok, but also, like you said on that podcast, find the right rhythm of stuff that works for you. Like,
yeah.
I don't post on TikTok. I don't really post reels on like Instagram. I feel like a lot of my following came from the people I've met on Twitter. There's like this crazy DIY music Twitter verse on there that like once you get like in, everyone kind of just like hits you up, and like I've had just to list a few, like Super Destroyer, St. Judas, Booze Radley has been on, like a bunch of just like DIY bands from like throughout the Midwest.
Yeah.
Not just Midwest, but like the states in general.
Yeah.
And like that's where I've found like my community. And yeah, like I post on Instagram, or try to regularly, or if I go to a show I post, but like it's all about finding that right spot that like kind of works in some form.
For sure. Well, I never want to be on the Twitter, and then like I don't know, 8 months ago or so, I was like, I should be on Twitter. I have so many thoughts. I feel like that's my medium.
With a lot of bands, that's the key too, is like they just let their one member that's unhinged have access to the Twitter, and like that one person will just post nonsense, and it'll just pop the fuck off, and it's just fucking crazy sometimes.
I gotta do it, but you know, I had that thought, and it was literally, I swear, it was like the week of, like, I don't know the exact time frame, but it was like around the time of the verified profile like catastrophe that Elon like just like let people pay for shit or whatever, like, and then I was like, well, you know, rip. but I think I should just still do it. I think that, I mean, it's still going on.
It's still surviving. I know at that same exact time, a lot of us were like, oh, we're going back to Tumblr. So I made a Tumblr for the podcast. I think I stopped posting on it like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like posting. I do this weird thing, and I've always done it, where I just watch people talk, and I never really post. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's been like 4 days and I haven't posted shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Like it's that weird thing. So like I haven't posted on like the Tumblr for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's still there. I can still go do shit, but like, I don't know. I've told people I'm old. I don't do that shit that often, but it's weird.
Yeah. Man, I wish I would have. Tumblr always felt like fun, because I mean, you had those like vision boards, right? I guess I'm not really familiar with Tumblr.
I mean, Tumblr had like, you could just like repost a bunch of shit, or you could like ask people questions. Like I followed a bunch of bands, and then it like there was obviously all like the Pern on there, and then that went away, and then a lot of people left Tumblr because there's no more Pern. But
I just got the hits.
But like no, it was cool because like even like when I was on Tumblr, and this is might date myself, like I'm 30. When I was on Tumblr in like my mid-20s or early 20s, say early 20s, there was like all the bands that like I would follow, like Knuckle Puck, Real Friends, and all those bands would all had profiles on Tumblr, so you could like ask them questions, and like they would actually like repost, like with the system, like when you answer a question, you're like making its own post about it. So like you could ask a question like, hey, like for this song, where'd you get that idea? And they could like write as long of a post as they wanted, and they'd post it, and like everybody would see that, and like kind of just everyone would like it, or like also that had that idea would see it, or you could ask them like stupid shit like, "Hey, why the fuck didn't you guys play my city?" And they'll be like, "Fucking no one booked us," and like some stupid shit like that. But, like, it was kind of cool in that aspect.
Yeah. That sounds great, man. I don't know. I've got a bleak view of most social media stuff now. I mean, MySpace. I mean, MySpace felt like, I thought that was a great hangout spot. You know, I don't know. And think about Vine too.
Yeah,
I mean,
Vine was dope.
Yeah, I mean, I guess TikTok is probably like the spiritual successor to it, but still, I feel like, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like the best things in life are just sabotaged.
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
All right. So before we fully transition,
Yeah.
is there anything we missed? Hillbilly Chic, the singles that you want the people to know about?
Listen to the singles. Listen
Right.
to the singles. Listen to them. Put them in a playlist. Yeah, help me out.
Hell yeah. Well, now, before we fully transition, this is obviously Beers with Bands. As I normally say, you don't have to be actually drinking any alcohol in these episodes, because I will most definitely do that for you. But we are drinking something on this episode.
Yeah.
And you were gracious enough to bring it for the episode. Can you tell the people, for at least the listeners that might not be watching the video, what you brought for me tonight?
Yeah. So we've got a 19 Crimes Cali Gold. It is Snoop Dogg's 19 Crimes contribution. It is a Prosecco, 11%. And yeah, it's hitting pretty good.
It is. And you kind of told that story at the beginning of the episode that kind of led up to it. But basically, this is becoming your, or is Prosecco in general, becoming your like go-to? Is it this specific brand, or is it Prosecco in general?
It's Prosecco in general. I've been a sucker for Prosecco ever since I found mimosas. I found mimosas, which you talked about, and I was like, these things are sick. And then I found out if you take the orange juice out, it's even better. Yeah. And then, I was like, frick. I mean, shoot, I found my thing. And it's just, for me, it's the celebratory nature of, champagne or Prosecco, bubbly wine. Like, wine has historically, I mean, even, speaking biblical, Christ would have, been drinking wine or whatever. Like, there's something about wine that's just historically just, it's a celebration. And then the bubbly nature to, like, specifically, like, Prosecco or champagne or any of those bubbling wines is, I mean, it's just special. It's just special. And I think you have to pay a little more, but it feels like a celebration. And I don't like to drink alcohol every day in my life because of my addictive tendencies, but I like Prosecco so much because it is such a celebration. I want to just do it every couple weeks or whatever.
When you do get it, it's that special moment.
Yeah.
And that, so I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and in this one in particular, I mean, for all of the listeners that can't see it, this is just the presentation of Snoop Dogg's 19 Crimes. I mean, it's just, I mean, what would you call this?
I mean, that's just iconic.
Yeah,
It's Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's ornate. It's gold and gaudy, but attitude. I mean, it's gold and black. And by the way, those are big parts of my color palette. I have a very particular color palette. I mean, I already vibe with Snoop Dogg when I saw that this had my particular color palette. It was like Prosecco as well. Just forget about it.
I do want to give a quick sorry to Basketball Divorce Court. The liquor store I went to did not have the Snoop Dogg Prosecco. That's why we did not divulge in that in your episode. So sorry. But no, thank you so much for bringing that through. We're also, for the listeners that can't see, we're also, drinking some good old PBRs because it's Beers with Bands, and that's what I fucking do.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. But, that's a little drink segment on this episode. Now we're going to kind of transition to the later half of this episode.
All right.
Final pour. This is my favorite part of the episodes because this is where I just got to listen to some stories from your time of music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording. Like I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous, or any adjective in between. Basically, just think about like the stories that you always reminisce about with your friends.
Yeah. Yeah, fun. I'm excited. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what you got in the chamber, but
I got some stuff in the chamber. Got a full clip here.
Hell yeah, let them rip.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start with tremendous, then make our way to horrendous.
Dude, hell yeah.
Tremendous. All right, here we go. One of the best shows of my life. Maybe just the best. It was Gown's first real show as a band. You know, we'd played shows previously, but like we were getting our stuff together, and it was very early days, so we had that like just vitriolic energy, man. You know, it was so we had all that like youthful kind of exuberance, but we were also starting to figure out what we were doing too.
Right.
So we had our first show in like a Minneapolis like venue. We had it was Studio B Skyway Theater, which we've like built a big relationship with over the years, Skyway Theater. But yeah, this first show, it was in August, and it was the night before one of our members' birthdays. That whole night was, it was magic. And it was just like total rock star night, you know, like the crowd was feeding my energy and the band's energy, and like we were feeding the crowd, and there's just that thing, that transcendence that happens,
right,
where you're just like being a total rock star doing crazy shit that like is landing, you know. And you know, that show went to midnight, and we were wrapping up right before midnight, and the last thing I did in that show is I picked up the guitarist whose birthday it was the next day, in like 2 minutes or whatever. And like we did a countdown, and I picked him up and I threw him into the audience. Just what, you know, just wow. One of the best nights of my life.
All I can think is that like you Steve Aoki'd him into the crowd instead of a cake, you just threw him in there.
Yeah.
It sounds so stupid to say that, but like that's all I can think.
Yeah, I took some risks back in the day, and I think that once I start playing shows, I'll start taking them again. But what I don't want to ever do an Iggy Pop and like, you know, just like cut someone's tongue off. I don't know if you know that story, but yeah, like, you know, I think it's good to be energetic, but you know, you should have, you know, you should be aware.
All right, if you don't want to do an Iggy Pop, are you gonna do at least an Ozzy and bite the head off of Bat?
My allegiance to PETA, no.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I accept it.
So, okay, that was a great show. Let's see what else we got in the chamber. This is the Buffalo. I don't know if you've played that game where like you say an odd thing that happened to you.
Oh, I know a different Buffalo.
Okay, so Buffalo for me, I live in a like house community or whatever, and like we do like a good bad Buffalo thing, and like the Buffalo's the weird thing. Anyway, one of the weirdest things that's happened to me is I used to be in West Virginia, in Podunk hollers in southern West Virginia, coal country, whatever. I had a jazz quartet. It was my first band ever, called Diggin' the Weather, and I just played saxophone, and I was like, I played the melody, you know, bassist, drummer, whatever, and I played saxophone, and I played the main melody, and like that was it. But we were playing in like this place called McBee's Irish Pub in Beckley, West Virginia. Just a non-place, you know, for most people, for the world, you know, just super small little city in West Virginia. And that's where I got to meet Marcus Miller, the world-renowned bassist, who had come into town to get acupuncture at a place that I got acupuncture when I started having chronic arm pain a couple years later. And I didn't even know the connection at the time, but he came in to get acupuncture. He comes in regularly to get acupuncture in like the town that I grew up in West Virginia. Apparently the acupuncturist there is like legendary. So Marcus Miller travels there. And so anyway, like the bassist for the jazz group, like his dad was playing a show at McBee's Irish Pub, and Marcus Miller was like sitting in on bass, just wild. So I'm going through that. That's kind of in between, and then I think I'm gonna make my way to the Horrendous.
Okay.
And I've got tons of these. So I gotta be selective here.
Or you could say double. Who's going to stop you? Not me.
Okay. All right. Horrendous shows. Horrendous experiences. Music. Well, when you say that you're a rock band, that means different things to different people.
Yep.
When I told my community organizing Somalian immigrant like 70-year-old neighbor Rose that I was in a rock band, that meant something different to her than what it means to me.
Yep.
Rose is one of the most beautiful people. She's always organizing community events, and she asked me to bring Gowns, in the very early days of Gowns, to play at what I thought was a block party. So I agreed that I would ask Gowns if they wanted it, and enough members were like, yeah, playing outside on a Saturday in the morning sounds great, let's do it. So we get all of our gear together, and we even rehearsed that morning, just not really knowing what to expect, but just want to be on our A game.
Yeah.
We pack up all of our gear and take it to the street, find ways to just connect it to people's external outlets or whatever, and get a sound system going. And more people start showing up, and it becomes pretty clear this is a prayer service. And and this is not a like Eurocentric prayer service. This is like a black community like prayer service. That this just white as hell indie alternative rock band that is still trying to figure out their sound is invited to be the primary music for.
Right.
So anyway, we play like 1.5 songs before the pastor shuts us down mid-song and is like, wow, let's hear it for, what was it? Gowns. Let's hear it for Gowns. Coming out on a Saturday morning. I mean, I'm mortified. And I don't know what Rose was expecting, but it's not what the pastor was expecting. I know that for sure. And to add insult to injury, he's like trying to salvage something out of this. I can see tears in your eyes right now.
I mean, this is building up on build up on build up. Like, everything is just connecting so well with this story.
So the pastor, just trying to salvage something out of the situation, is like, so we're getting ready to go into the prayer here, and I'm the keyboardist, vocalist or whatever. So he's like, would you just want to accompany me with some organ, with some church organ? And I grew up in Pentecostalism and Southern Pentecostalism. So I actually have a rich history of gospel in my blood. But by the time that I found piano, it was way after that. I turned the organ, never touched the organ button on my keyboard before.
There's a bunch of dust that you had to like move out of the way first, and then hit it.
Blow the dust off the button, press it, and just start playing, something like Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. Put up against the wall. I'm like 2-5-1 Sunday Morning. Just that's gospel, right? That's something. Yeah. So that happens, and it's not the vibe, and after the praise, and after the prayer, he comes up and basically whispers to me, I didn't ask for like a funeral service. And I'm just mortified. And if I would have known what this was, I wouldn't have agreed to the gig. Right.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Kind of bouncing off of that though. So obviously Rose had an idea as to what kind of rock band you guys were. What was your idea as to what kind of rock band Gowns was?
The way that I describe Gowns to a lot of people is we're somewhere between Tears for Fears and the Killers, the Strokes, the early aughts songwriters. So that big synth production, but with that alternative rock sound and that indie songwriting. For me, and this ties into the Hillbilly Chic stuff, for me, Gowns is the 60s, it's the 80s, it's the aughts. For me, Hillbilly Chic is the 70s, it's the 90s, and whatever. But if you look cyclically, the 60s, let's look at the 70s and 80s. The 80s were big production. It was the Reagan era. It was, these huge feature films. It's the rise of, like, Star Wars and Terminator, like, all that stuff. It's just huge, epic, big, huge productions. The 70s are these dark, brooding, like, Francis Ford Coppola, like Apocalypse Now, The Godfather, all the art at the time was just kind of brooding, and if you look at the Doors too, just like this brooding stuff that, it was somewhat poetic, and it was gritty. And in the 90s, I think was the backlash to the 80s, and it was a resurgence of the 70s. And so, yeah, for me, Hillbilly Chic is the 70s and the 90s, and Gowns is the 80s and early aughts. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more. All
right.
This is just, I don't know, this is maybe this is just a brag, but maybe it's not. Somewhere in between. So in high school, I was, alto saxophone was my first musical love. I found, I was in like marching band in like middle school, and then this jazz band from the high school quartet came to my middle school, and I don't think they were probably very good, but in my mind they were the coolest shit
Anytime
ever.
you're in like middle school and like those high school kids come down to your school for any fucking reason, they're gods and you want to be them.
Yes.
Granted, mine, as I grew up, I realized we're just a bunch of pieces of shit. But I totally get what you're going for.
Yeah. So this band comes down, and they play, and I'm enamored, and I start taking saxophone really seriously. I was trying to practice every hour I could. I would skip lunch and go to the practice rooms. I was getting as much time with the instrument as possible because I just really found a love for it. And like Julian, I want to say Julian Casablancas because he's my like alt rock hero, but my jazz hero was Julian Cannonball Adderley. So both Julians, I always get mixed up, but Cannonball Adderley, Bird or Charlie Parker, like those, those people just really started getting their tendrils in me, and spent tons of time with the instrument. And I would say that I was like very much in that like excellence paradigm. I was very much, I was a very practiced saxophonist, and just completely in love with the instrument.
Yeah.
By the time I was like 17 or so, I got invited to play at Governor Manchin's Christmas party with a pianist. It was a duet, and but I also, like, I don't fit within like excellence paradigm shit. Like, I'm not an I am an enigma. I am an unhinged.
Yeah.
Which I feel much more comfortable in the rock world because I'm a little unhinged. I'm not someone that like can like focus very long on anything. I'm an improviser.
Okay.
And I became a great improviser because I was always unrehearsed. But like I would spend a lot of time with the instrument, so I had facility, but I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was just making shit up as I went. So anyway, I played a show at Governor Manchin's Christmas party with a pianist. Didn't know any of the melodies to these like Christmas songs with this pianist, improvising everything. And to be honest, I think it went pretty well. I think it was pretty well received. I like met like Governor Manchin. This was before like he became a total like figure in American politics because of like he's a Democrat in West Virginia that like votes basically he as a Republican, So yeah, I I don't know. I think that's a funny story because at the time like I he wasn't that figure, and as time went along he kind of became that figure, and yeah, I played his Christmas party, and like I had to get a tux for my first tux to like play his party or whatever.
All right, so since you told basically a high school band story, I'm gonna tell one that I don't think I've ever told on this podcast, and I don't know if I've even told my closest friends that were in band with me when I was in high school. I got roped into being in band my sophomore year for some stupid shit. I'm looking at you, Thomas. And I played percussion for marching band and for concert band, and then for some reason I think it was like shifting from sophomore to junior year, I played trombone for concert band and jazz band. And we at the time my graduating class was 88 people, if that makes sense. If that put that picture in your mind for anyone listening, like we had 400 people in my entire high school. I could probably name 99% of them. And like there was only 2 trombones, me and one other dude that was in my grade, and he was obviously first trombone. He had like a fucking trigger on his trombone. I didn't have that shit. I wasn't fancy. I'm gonna let it be known to a lot of people right now. I did not read music at all. I just waited for him. I knew we had the same rest measures, and like I could kind of read music. I would have to write shit in, but like he would rest, and then when he would pick his up, I would be like, oh, this is time for me to pick it up. So I knew all that shit. Made it through jazz band some fucking how. Did a couple solos, just did stupid scales the entire time that kind of fit. But we did basically like our like county or region would basically send like kids from our band to go be in like this ensemble. And it's like you with like a bunch of kids from like different schools.
It was like an honor band, maybe.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think it was like honor band. Yeah, and I got selected. I think my junior year, and I was like, they're gonna find out my secret.
Tiny little secret.
Yeah, like I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there going through this, and like for people that have never done honor band, it's an all day fucking thing.
Yeah, it feels it's hard.
Yeah, like you show up. It's literally like a 1 day fucking band camp, and then you perform that night. And I'm going through, I'm like, this fucking conductor is going to know my secret. And I somehow, through freaking out, I don't even remember if my parents even came to that, but like, that's a whole nother story. I made it through, and I was just on, for that one, I don't even remember if I was playing trombone or if they had me on like, No, I think I think they had me on percussion playing like the giant fucking bass drum that like wheels in.
Yeah.
Even then, I was like, why the fuck did I get selected for this? Like, the one guy that, like, just somehow manages to get, like, through and get a passing grade in band, I got selected. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Stress level was high that day. I didn't talk to fucking anybody. Because, like, that's an opportune time to meet people from other schools and be like,
right.
oh, you're in band, too. I'm in band. We're quirky and shit. No, I didn't fucking talk to anybody. Looking back, I don't remember eating lunch that day. Like, that's how crazy was this. No, but like, dude, this has been a great fucking time just talking, bullshitting. We're both obviously feeling this prosecco right now. I'm for sure feeling it. I also have not had supper yet because that's my go-to for doing these. I just come home, change, and then I'm like, let's do a podcast, and I'm like, fuck. But no, this has been a great fucking time, and like Hillbilly Chic is fucking sick, and I'm stoked to see what's coming next.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. If anyone's looking for merch, music, or Hillbilly Chic in general, where can they find it?
Go to hillbilly_chic on Instagram. That is my preferred platform. Go to that link tree. I'll have everything up by the time that this is listed. I'll have everything up on there. Yeah, for now that's as good as I got.
I know we talked about gowns a couple different times.
Yeah.
What's coming? What's new with gowns? What's coming in the future?
So we got 2 more singles before we release the album. Album number 2, project number 3 for gowns, and trying to think of the name of the next single, because we've just called it New Gowns 1 for a while.
Okay.
As you do. But yeah, we got 2 more singles and then the album drop.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Check the description down below, and I'll make sure to put some gowns links in there as well as all of the Hillbilly Chic links. That way you can stay up to date with either one of those. Depending on where you found this episode, Instagram, Facebook, Twitters, YouTube. I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not even going to list that one. Make sure you follow those hyperlinks, stay up to date with everything that John and Hillbilly Chic have coming out. And just, be ready for Paper Dagger coming out and everything else, like LP1, LP2, who knows what the fuck's coming next, right?
We'll see.
Hell yeah. Before we fully take off, do you have any last words for the listeners?
Last words. I kind of want to just leave with my ethos for Hillbilly Chic.
Yeah.
Hillbilly Chic for me is reclaiming the discarded parts of ourselves. It's confronting the shadows. It's incorporating them. It's taking those things of ourselves that we're ashamed of and not being afraid to, be honest that they are as much a part of us as the parts of us that we're not ashamed of. It's about taking our roots and letting that nourish us and what we do in our lives, rather than taking what we think we should be doing or whatever and feel like we're being forced to do something. So that for me is the ethos of Hillbilly Chic, and I hope for everyone that's listening and for all of humanity that we can get closer to an ethos like that. And I'm not saying that is the manifesto of mankind, but I think that where we come from will always be a part of us, whether we want it to be or not. And if we continue to cut off where we come from, I don't know where we can go with that. A plant doesn't grow without roots. So, if you're ever lost, think about where you come from. And if that's hard to do, as it was for me, think about the parts of it that you did really love. Those early core memories, maybe you didn't have many that were good, but the ones that were, really cherish those. See where that takes you.
Shit. Well, I mean, I don't think there's any better way to say what Hillbilly Chic is. I mean, other than that, like one more big thank you to taking the time out of your Tuesday to come over to the studio. Which I haven't mentioned this. This is probably the second to last or third to last episode being filmed in these walls.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for being part of that, coming over to this house and taking part of that. This house means a lot to me, and I'm stoked for the future, and we'll talk about that in a different episode. But thank you for John Hillbilly Chic for coming over, and other than that, like, I need to go eat something, and I'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Appreciate you, Michael.
See ya.